So, Geoff, Australia plays India in London at the Oval on Sunday. 10-match winning streak for Australia. Who saw that coming?
Well, a few months ago, nobody, because I think they'd lost 22 out of 26 at one stage over the course of a couple of years. They went 2-0 down in India and then suddenly turned that around to win 3-2 over there. But I think the reality is Australia weren't really playing the final Indian team. It was an Indian team in warm-up mode preparing for the World Cup. And then against Pakistan in the Emirates, that was very much a second-string team. They were resting their best 8 players, I think, and just cobbling together whoever was left and then picking players from outside that team anyway in Pakistan style. So you can put a little asterisk next to some of those wins. But
the Indian team was at full strength. I can understand to an extent you saying that a little bit of complacency, a little bit of looking to the future in that sense.
They were working out who would play where, right? Who was batting number 4.
They have been working that out for a long time.
Yeah. Well, not working it out for a long time. Also, what the bowling was going to be. Players were coming in and out. So I don't think there was like real desperation from India that we have to win this series. It was more like we have to do some experiments, and the Australians are being helpful enough to give us that opportunity.
Justin Langer, as a batsman in his heyday, was one of those tough, gritty, in-your-face cricketers, never say die attitude, somewhat like Steve Waugh. Do you think that there's now a reflection of that attitude in this team? Because we've seen in that India series, despite what you say about there being an asterisk, that India series, even in this game against the West Indies, there was that fighting spirit right till the end. I mean, when you thought that the match had slipped from their grasp, they came back and won it. And that same thing happened in the Pakistan series in a couple of matches. It happened against India as well.
Yeah, I think you're looking more at some individual performances that were brilliant. The third match in that India series, that was Peter Hanscom and Ashton Turner, who turned that match around and put together a huge
Ashton
chase.
Turner hasn't done much after that.
Sure, he had a lean trot, shall we say, in the IPL. So lean it was invisible. But Hanscom and Turner both missed out on the World Cup squad, so they weren't rewarded for that. I think this Australian team has a fairly long history, the last few years at least, of papering over the cracks. So they won against the West Indies. It was impressive that they came back to win, but the top order failed once again. They had to be bailed out by their number 8. If Nathan Coulter-Nile doesn't nearly make a century, which is ridiculous. Your number 8 can't be making hundreds, and that's the reason that you win. And then another brilliant bowling performance from Mitchell Starc. So the bowlers dug them out of trouble with bat and ball. They can win a few games like that, but they can't win a World Cup like that.
Do you think, I'm just talking about this match now, Nathan Coulter-Nile as a bowler alone makes it to this 11?
He does in recent times, because he's been the most consistent performer over the last year or so, while Starc and Cummins haven't been playing most of those matches. They've been rested or injured or managed or watching a movie or doing something else. Coulter-Nile's been the one who's persistent.
You love the Australian team.
They're a very entertaining team, don't get me wrong. There's always something to watch, something to talk about. But he's been the one who's been quite consistently there, playing in the T20 international side and in the one-day international side. He's had quite a few important innings with the bat, but he's also bowled really nicely as well. So he played 5 matches across the India and Pakistan series, took 10 wickets, bowled well, hasn't taken a wicket in the World Cup so far, but I think he needs to be given more backing.
And especially after that innings, I think he would be given that backing. In this match against the Indians, what are the battles that you think would make a lot of difference? I can think of one between Kohli and Zampa. Anything that you would be looking forward to? Well,
interesting that Jai Richardson's not here, because he's had a bit of success against Kohli, but also Patrick Cummins has had a lot of success against Kohli. So there are a few options for the Australians to look at. I think a really big one is Bumrah versus Finch, because Finch has been worked over for all of India's fast bowlers, really. In fact, I was just looking at the record, just not Bumrah. Bhuvneshwar played in the first game. I would have probably played Mohammad Shami in place of him, but Bhuvi has a good record against Finch. Well, very good, because he moves the ball.
Till 2017, Bhuvi had not got Finch out even once, and they had played. I think he'd played 180 deliveries or something on those lines. 2019, these last few matches, he's got him out 3 or 4 times, I think.
Yep, and India was the team that really kicked off Aaron Finch's form slump. You know, he'd made a few low scores in some white ball games, but it was playing India in test matches that really unnerved him.
That was a surprising call to pick Finch up for the test matches, and that first test match at Adelaide where Ishant Sharma had him bowled. The sound of timber was awesome, but not so much for Aaron Finch.
It's one of those great photos where if you just take Aaron Finch and crop out the stumps, it looks like a great shot. He's just smashed it over cover. But then you expand the frame and the stumps are spread. Well, one is left standing and the other 2 are gone. So Aaron Finch really... he got in a trough and he was worrying about his game and wasn't playing confidently. He's just starting to build his way back up, but when he sees those Indian shirts, does that trigger flashbacks and no, and does
those flashbacks might be papered over by the couple of knocks that he played in that ODI series as well. Somewhat of a return of confidence for him.
Yeah, but they were real grinding sort of innings. It wasn't his fluent attacking sort of style that he's used to. So he has to decide how he's going to play. The pitch on the oval might not be conducive to real stroke making. It might be a tough it out kind of wicket.
Yes, because they already played 3 matches during the World Cup and a couple of matches during the warm-ups as well. So this... Probably not the same pitch, but the square might have been used a few times.
I think it's a fresh pitch, but then still from what we've seen, even in the first game of the World Cup on a fresh wicket there, the ball didn't quite come on. Right. It was a relatively slow wicket, a lot of slower balls, cutters, things like that. And Ngidi was bowling a lot of slower balls. So it'll be a pitch where the batsman has to be patient and wait for the right ball instead of just striking through the line. But the other factor is that Finch has played a lot for Surrey. He's played at the Oval an awful lot, so he'll know these conditions very well. And he's made some massive scores here in T20s, particularly in county cricket.
One last question. What's your prediction for the game?
I think India should shade it because I think that their batting, while it has a couple of question marks, is more consistent. But Australia's fast bowlers they're a possibility of taking a win.
That's it. Suneer Chowdhary here with Geoff Lemon.